Hey guys, my name is Kayla and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be answering, is the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette still worth the price? Is it still worth buying and checking it out? I am mega late to the hype on talking about this palette in a video. So this is my late to the hype review. I'm going to go over some details about this palette, when it came out, the initial reviews, and what people think about it now and what I think about it now. I've had this palette since January 2017, so I've had it for over a year and a half. I've played lots and lots with this palette. So I'm late to the hype, but is it still worth it? Alright, so starting with kind of the history of this palette, it originally came out around April 2000, May, and everybody lost their freaking minds about this palette. It was the best thing since sliced bread. Everyone just was like, this is the holy grail palette, this is everything. It was limited edition, it was impossible to find, it actually was discontinued, and then Too Faced brought it back with a whole collection of products, lip oils, Pavadome Peach Blush, and a face palette, which was the Pavadome Peach Blush, a shimmery bronzer, and a highlighter. And those all came out December 14th, 2016. I got this palette, like I said, in January 2017. I waited until it came to Ulta before I picked it up. But I do remember December 4th, oddly enough, when this palette came out, because I was tempted. As much as this was getting hyped, I was very tempted to purchase it. And that website was so insane. You had to wait in a virtual line in order to even get to Too Faced website to even potentially buy the palette. And I was at work and I had my computer up. I had a browser up with the Too Faced website open, and I got through like 2 times. I think one time I was like really close, and the second time I got through and I was just like, nope, I'm just not gonna buy it. So I had my chance the day of release, but I decided against it. So what's in this palette? What are you getting? So for $49 you are getting 18 shadows. They are 0.03 ounces each, and so that makes it 0.05 grams total. Like I said, is $49 on at Ulta, Sephora, and Too Faced website. So on Ulta's website, in terms of reviews, this palette has 4.5 stars out of 2,046 reviews as of like yesterday when I looked it up. And on Sephora's website, also as of yesterday, this palette also has 4.5 stars. And there are 2,000 plus reviews on Sephora's website. They don't give us the exact amount like Ulta does, but it's pretty phenomenal, especially for such a hyped product as it is. If this was just people hyped about this on the internet, I think severely that the reviews on Ulta and Sephora's website would show at least a little bit of that. Both of these palettes, I was looking at the most critical reviews, and even those were like 2.5, 3 stars. So no one was really giving this guy a 1 or 2 star. Maybe I missed those, but for the most part, like, the negative reviews were still relatively, like, they weren't like, this palette's trash. Like this palette, I keep kind of tapping this. This is a metal or like aluminum packaging. It is a magnetic closure. When it comes to Too Faced packaging like this, you either really love it or you really hate it. I'm kind of in the group of really loving it, because I like the metal. I like how this is a different texture in my eyeshadow palette collection. A lot of my palettes have the cardboard packaging, which I really like, and I enjoy that too. But then just to kind of have one that's simply not like the others, I also really like. It is a gradient from a light pink to a really dark peachy orange. In terms of how the palette is right now, if you want a review on how this palette was fresh out of the box, there are probably thousands of reviews on this palette, like when it first came out. I'm going to be reviewing the palette now. So overall, this palette has very high star ratings. As I was looking at the reviews on Ulta and Sephora's website, a lot of reviews were still coming in. I saw reviews posted like the day before, the week, the month ago. Like, this is not just a palette that was hyped up and went away. People are still purchasing this palette. People are still enjoying this palette. and still wanting to check it out. I mean, there's a reason why it hasn't gone away. It's obviously still selling. So I'm going to kind of I'm not going to break down all of the shadows also because it's kind of hard holding this up like this. But I will point out some of my like favorites over the year and a half that I've used this palette. And one of my absolute favorites is Bless Her Heart. This green has been like, was for the longest time, actually, for a while, one of my favorite greens. And swatched on the hand, it doesn't look very green. But if you put a cream green shadow as a base, it is blindingly stunning. I also loved Tempting, which is just a richer, darker green, and I think I'm just gonna grab a couple more. Of course, I'm going for the darker shade. The third one is Talk Derby to Me, which is a navy blackish, and it has pink glitter in the pan. But don't let that confuse you. I honestly was kind of intimidated to see like pretty much a black, almost purple shadow with pink glitter in it. The pink glitter does not show up on the eyes. Some companies do put glitter into shadows just to make them more smoother, and that's definitely the case with Talk Derby to Me, because I did a full smoky eye with Talk Derby to Me all over my lids yesterday. You could not see a speck of pink glitter on my eyes. An easy favorite for pretty much everybody is Luscious. After a year and a half, even after a year and a half, freaking creamy and buttery. So there are still a lot of good guys in here. I actually want to try swatching Just Peachy, because yeah, look at Just Peachy. Just Peachy is actually one of my favorite shades in the palette. Just that pink, it's so gorgeous. I also so I've also really enjoyed Puree and Summer Yum. These transition shades are Puree and Summer Yum are phenomenal transition shades. You can't really go wrong with any of these shadows right here as well. But probably the hardest guy in terms of swatching out of all 18 was definitely Delectable right here, which is the rich purple, matte purple in the pan, which is so sad. Oh, why did it have to be the matte purple? Delectable is so beautifully royal dark purple. I don't freaking know why it's in this palette, but Zam is pretty. Those who are wondering, the majority of what's on my eyes today, I kind of did a little peachy smoky eye kind of deal. I mostly used mostly used Bellini and Peach Pit right here. I know I used White Peach to set my lid, and then I used Georgia and Candied Peach kind of in my for transitions, and then I use a mix of Puree and Summer Yum on the lower lash line. My inner highlight is whatever highlighter I use today, Moonstone from Becca. So this palette on Ulta has 4.5 stars and it has over 2,000 reviews. Sephora is exactly the same, 4.5 stars, over 2,000 reviews. And so I'm bringing that up again to go into my pros and cons. Some of these pros and cons are some that I've thought of myself, and some of them I have added onto from the reviewers. Some of these comments are very new, some of them are very old. So I like kind of went back and forth between the critical, the recent to the most recent reviews to the least to the oldest, critical to the most helpful, kindness basically. So for pros, which this is my pro, this is not limited edition. So many, like this fruity kind of spring summery palette, so many of these are limited edition. This one is not. This is a staple in Too Faced collection. Thank you. That other products are complementary to this palette within Too Faced collection. You have the Peachy Matte palette, which is for so one of the biggest complementary things to this palette is probably the so it's for exclusive, just their Peachy Matte palette. This one's kind of more of a berry vibe, not so much here, but Too Faced still has the Papadone Peach Blush, the lip oils. It is very easy in general to find peachy blushes and lip colors to really go with this palette. Too Faced, you could even grab some of Too Faced's older palettes, maybe they're discontinued. This is a palette that for me can definitely stand on its own, but it can still work within other Too Faced products. Makes a good point. Someone made a really good point. So this palette is beginner friendly. It really is. I think you have a really good solid amount of workable transition shades or just matte shades in general. So in this palette there are 9 matte shades, or 10 shades if you include the Talk Derby to me, which honestly, even though there is the pink glitter, I would still technically call her matte. And then the rest are shimmers. So you have a good balance here of mattes and shimmers. So related, you can do a whole look with just, you know, 4 of these shadows. If you want to go a little bit bolder, you go into the next 6 and then finally into the last 6. This palette is not only good for beginners, but it's also just versatile. I mean, before yesterday, I had no idea I could do a black smoky eye with a peach palette. But I did, and some of my favorite looks that I've ever made are from this palette, and they were using Bless Her Heart and Tempting. I love me a good, easy green eyeshadow look. These two work phenomenal with that, and I would always use Puree and Summer Yum in my crease to do those looks. This palette, it's a very specific tone, it's a very specific look and vibe, but at the same time it's so ridiculously versatile. Some comments, some negatives that people were pointing out is just the sickly sweet smell of this palette. It has definitely faded over time, so if you bought this palette a while ago and you just didn't have the heart to return it, but you couldn't use it on the daily, maybe bring this palette up again. Still, maybe just sniff test to see if the sweet smell still bothers you. For me, I barely even noticed it. I think I noticed it the first few minutes as I was doing my makeup past few days, but not like at all. It's not like the smell stays on your face the entire day. Some people didn't like the packaging, commenting that it was a little bit bulky, a little bit just strange. This palette really isn't the greatest in terms of like organization and storage, because it's a little too wide compared to most palettes, and it's just a weird shape when you're storing this palette with other eyeshadow palettes, from what they were saying. And some people also said this, and I kind of pretty much agree with them, but some people really thought that there could have been more bright peachy colors to reflect like the actual tree itself, and I do have to agree with that. So I understand people's complaints. I feel like in terms of being a peach palette, they're definitely, their names helps me understand where they're going, like Puree and Summer Yum and everything, but I think there definitely could have been more, maybe brighter or intense peachier colors. Like to have an orange like this peachy kind of orange in the palette would be outstanding. Like they have these really soft kind of pink, but they don't really have anything to match this side of the gradient. So I think that's kind of what some people are wanting, expecting. So there's here and there where like they noticed that the shadows were fading throughout the day. I've never noticed that issue with any time I've used a Sweet Peach palette. There's actually, I feel like that's not an issue for me. I've only had fading like that happen throughout the day. That kind of fading rarely happen. I don't know if it's just I use good primers or I use good setting sprays. I don't know why. I just don't seem to really have that problem. And then the last thing I want to touch on in terms of cons is that some people commented that this palette works better on neutral or warm tone skins and not people who have more pinkier tones. The person who is writing this review said that she has very cool tone skin, and so this palette being a dominantly warm palette, it just didn't work with her skin tone. And I am neutral to warm. I don't understand where she's coming from, but I think just looking at this palette, so if you are really cool tone, this palette may not be the most flattering for you, so just keep that in mind. I thought she brought up a really good and interesting point that I would have never thought of myself. Okay, in conclusion, even though I am late to the hype on reviewing this palette a year and a half later, I still recommend it. I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but I honestly did not want to like this palette. I was like, I think I was just like feeling the peer pressure of buying a hype makeup product. I was just like, it's cute, but I don't know. And I was like, everyone's raving about it, so I kind of got it. I wasn't really happy that I bought it. But then I know the first month or so of having this palette, I ended up reaching for it. Like I thought I was gonna like do a few looks with this. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll go with something else. No, I have not used this as much as this palette deserves. But so I know some people might think that this palette still looks a little underwhelming compared to a lot of things that is going out. It's another warm tone palette. What more do you want? Well, I would come back and say that there are some cool tones in that palette that are still really compatible with the warmer tones. Bless her heart, Delectable, Peach Pit, they are cooler shadows, but yet they still somehow work with the overall warmth of the palette, which is something that I was not expecting at all. I was like kind of wondering, why is there a green here? It doesn't go. But you can definitely make it worth. I think that if this palette draws you in, do keep in mind it's $50. I just really wanted to bring this palette out. It really sucks. Just the speed of the beauty community here. Just you go from one hype product to the next, where this guy, it was hyped up for good reasons at the beginning, and I still think it's worth the hype now. So that's all for today's videos, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Kayla Hayes with a Z. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you can be so you are notified when all my videos come up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. I hope you do give this palette a second thought if you have purchased it, if you haven't purchased it, and if you have purchased it, let me know what you think. When did you buy this? Have you used it lately? Are you wanting to check it out a little bit more, show it some more love? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, that's it. Have joy.